guy against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flagg, and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Of an interesting couple of weeks in California. If you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know what to get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard, and then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on
And welcome in. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. It is hour number one of our 2-hour extravaganza. Scott Wetzel, Dane Martinez, in for Dave Sherapan as we take you right up until 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got baseball, a number of afternoon games, but we still got a halfway decent slate of evening games. Most already underway, but we got a few that aren't. We got our SGPs coming up here in a little bit, little black cloud, 5 on the line, and we got a WNBA game that actually have a halfway decent line on it, and a pick that I do like in the WNBA with the Chicago hosting Dallas tonight. So 2 hours of fun, hopefully making a couple of shekels along the way. My partner in crime, again, Dane Martinez. What's going on, Dane? How are you tonight, bud?
Feeling good, feeling great. Like you said, we do have some Major League Baseball. We've got one game in the W going on. And Scott, remember earlier in the week, you told me that I had to worry about the schedule for the New York Yankees. But as I look, they're handling Seattle just fine so far at 4-1. So as we get through what was supposed to be that treacherous week, maybe we won't just lose Toronto in the rearview mirror. We'll see about it, Scotty.
Yeah, you're looking at game to game because the Blue Jays somehow or another decided to lose after winning, 9-10 in a row, I believe it was. Lost to Chicago 2-1, too. Not many times you give up 2 runs and you're going to lose with that Toronto Blue Jay lineup. So the Yanks got a chance to pick up some ground. It was 3-0. It's now 3-1. Oh, by the way, Yankees with this kid. I'm not even going to pronounce the kid's name because if so, I'm going to break FCC rules here.
We need to hit the mute button if you mess it up. But it is 4-1, Scott, not 3-1.
4-1. Now 4-1 now,
okay.
Okay. It kind of reminds me of the show my kids like, Blanks Creek, that TV show. Yeah, I don't know how do they get away with that, but they do. So, all right, so we got the Yankees winning. We got the Red Sox winning, albeit only 1-0. Actually 4-2 now, as the Mariners have scored again, top of the 4th inning. So, okay. Red Sox win, although the PP, the public parlay, which, did hit Monday with Toronto and Boston, did hit yesterday, but obviously it's not going to hit today, Dane, with the Blue Jays losing this afternoon. But the Red Sox at least up 1-0. I did lay the 1.5 again with them. The way they're playing, which is really good, the way that, the Rockies are, which is really bad. Obviously, it's hard not to lay. Even I had to lay $1.50 laying a 1.5, which I don't do too often, but I did today.
So listen, I went the other way. We've been talking about this for a lot over the last couple of weeks. How do we play those teams? Minus 290. I saw the Red Sox at minus 300 at one point. I decided to put them in a parlay and then do another thing we did. I took a strikeout prop that I really liked, and instead of going that normal number, I lopped the strikeout off, got another like minus 240 on it, and that became a more digestible number. So you did it with the run line. I put them as a parlay partner today. Your Bo Sox, I actually need them to beat the lowly Rockies, Scott.
All right, that's cool. That's what. No, listen, a lot of different ways. Do first five. Do it. There's an icon there on FanDuel that allows you to bet which team will have the highest scoring inning, which usually chops off about a half of the bet. Like the Red Sox would probably be around minus 150, 160 today. So there are different ways to attack it versus just like blowing the game off because they're not going to lay minus 3-1. Speaking of the strikeout props, I know you got one here for a game that starts in about 5 minutes. Cleveland and the Houston Astros. So fire it out. I think you like Ciccone, right, with his strikeouts?
I do like Ciccone, but I'm going under on his strikeouts, Scott. First of all, the number is 4.5. He is not even a strikeout an inning. Only 47 strikeouts in 48 innings of work so far. In his last 4 starts, the max he has gotten is 5. And against these Houston Astros, listen, Scott, you know this. Houston is one of the better contact teams in Major League Baseball. They only strike out 20% of the time. That is the 6th lowest rate in all of Major League Baseball. So it's not like he gets to gaudy numbers in normal starts. Houston has been performing well. They are a contact team. They don't strike out a ton. And listen, here's the other part about it, Scott. I know you probably have him as one of your 5 on the line trends, right? The Guardians have been playing horribly lately. So I think there's also the chance that the Astros can get to him early and he's not in there long enough to amass the 5 Ks. So I'm actually going under 4.5 Ks for the Guardians starter tonight.
All right, that's not too bad. As a matter of fact, we do have Cleveland. We're only limited to 4 games today, so we got to have the Guardians right back in there. And you mentioned it, time for our 5 on the line best trends for tonight. All right, a rare, and I mean rare, back-to-back losing days with our 5 on the line. 2 and 3 again. That Cleveland-Houston series is just killing us, because we've been going with the Astros and the under, and It's been Cleveland in the over 2 straight days. So 2 and 3 last night. You see the scoreboard there. Still, 73 games over 500. Can't complain too loudly if 2 and 3 is your worst night. So minus 2-1 on the Astros. So it's really, for all intents and purposes, it's really 2 and 4, Scott. I know, but for record-wise, it's 2 and 3. So that was yesterday. Let's make it back today, and right back to the well we're gonna go, Dane, with Cleveland and Houston. Listen, if you didn't know what happened yesterday or Tuesday or Monday, you'd still say Cleveland 2 and 10, their last 12 is pretty darn bad. Astros 11 and 4, their last 15. So we'll start with one more crack at it. Give me Houston at home, minus 148 against the Guardians. Same game, again, under. I know the last 2 went over, but if you didn't know the results, and I told you Cleveland 19 and 6 under their last 25 road games, you'd be betting the under. So we got to do it one more time. We're due under 7.5. You see there, Cleveland at Houston. Let's hope we get at least a split out of that series. Next one, number 3. A's at home against the Atlanta Braves. A's 27-18-1 over at home. They're an over machine out in Sacramento. I know the Braves can't hit their way out of a paper bag. Got lucky with the over last night. It went 10-1. It was 10.5, but right back at it tonight. Over 10.5. You see Atlanta at the A's. The number 2 on our countdown, one we've given out many times and have had a lot of success with this one. You see it, Rangers 57-34-1 under, 23 more unders than overs this season. Taking on the LA Angels, under 9, Texas at the Angels. And then that leaves us with only one, the coup de grace, creme de la creme, number 1 trend for this Wednesday, July 9th. Yeah, we're going to flip and we're going to go WNBA. How about that? The Chicago Sky hosting, you saw it there, Dallas and Chicago, 8-1 straight up their last 9 games against the Dallas Wild. Wings. Yeah, Wings. I was going to say Wild. Wings, yeah. Including 2-0, including back-to-back games earlier this year, and Chicago only has 4 or 5 wins. So whatever reason, they have the Wings number. So laying only 1.5. Give me Chicago at home, -1.5 against Dallas. Our best trend play of the night, WNBA. How about that?
Scott, but you have been telling me that Dallas, started the season really poorly and has come on now. Paige has been much better recently. And you said these Chicago wins against the Wings were earlier in the season. I wonder if this is a different Dallas team tonight. I know we have backed Dallas a little bit more recently. I'm actually a little surprised to see you go with the Sky here.
Yeah, I did look it up. Becker's played in one of the 2 games, because she was hurt early on, but she did play in one of them. It was a back-to-back, oddly enough. I was either going to choose that one, Dane, or the over in the game, which I do like. That's the play I really, really like. I like the over, 166.5 points. They had 170 points plus in both games, so I don't know how it's going to get under 170. I really don't, but the trend was a little bit better, 8-1. So... there is a little choosing. Yeah, there is some choosing when it comes to trends, but ultimately the trend says Chicago. Back after this.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Just underway. Hour number 1. Scott and Dane taking to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Just finished up, as we always do, first segment. Our 5 on the line. Just to recap them in case you missed them. Right back to the well. This is where the Polish and German and Irish and Italian all kind of collide in my body here. We're a little stubborn here. So we're going right back to Houston. We're going to take under in the Astros game, even though we've lost with both of those on Monday and Tuesday. You see the picks there. We're going to go also with the A's and Atlanta Braves over 10.5, under 9, Texas and the Angels, and then a little WNBA just tipping off. We got Chicago laying 1.5 against Dallas because they've beaten them 8 of their last 9 meetings for whatever reason. So, not bad.
Yeah, I really like it. You know, I gave you a little bit of grief on that WNBA play, but let me tell you something. I really like going back to the well with Houston Astros. I mean, think about it. You know, right. Cleveland has been playing really, really bad, and then all of a sudden you think they're going to go into Houston and sweep a series. I don't think so. I'm with that in terms of my K-prop, kind of on that same blueprint, that same narrative. And I also, my favorite out of all of these, Scott, is taking the over in Sacramento. I mean, that has been a bandbox all season long, right? Teams have scored, you know, against the Athletics. I won't call them Vegas or Oakland or Sacramento, against just the Athletics. And so I like that in terms of the 10.5 runs. And also, listen, I think that Atlanta, who has been a major disappointment all season long, I do think their worst part of the season was early on. I'm not saying they're going to come all the way back and threaten for the playoffs, but I do think when they're out there in Sacramento, I think they will be able to put up a few runs. So I really like that over 10.5 Braves and A's.
Yeah, you know, not to pick on anybody, Dane, but we had a guest last night that he recommended Atlanta, and sometimes I love the guests. I appreciate all these guys coming on, right? They're not getting paid for this. They come on, they help us out. We have some laughs and giggles, and I had a guy last night, first time he was on his show, and he offered up Atlanta as his pick, and you don't want to put him down on the air, but I'm thinking to myself, Atlanta, they have a pitcher who got rocked in double-A ball, and he acknowledged that. Everyone plays hunches, right? But I bring it up because of this, and I want to ask you. He liked 2 games last night. He liked Atlanta, and he liked San Francisco. So he went 1-1. But he didn't play San Francisco because San Francisco was minus 155, 160, and he said that he kind of stops at 140. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if you're a baseball bettor and you're only betting games 140 or less, I just don't believe you've got a winning record.
It's a tough road to hoe,
exactly. That's what I was going to ask you. Right? How hard is that to only bet basically pick 'em games and have a winning record? That's tough to do.
It is incredibly hard, Scott, to be a winning baseball bettor, period. Full stop. End of sentence. You know what I mean? And we're talking about all different kinds of ways to try to slice it. First 5, live betting, right? All sorts of ways of doing it. I hear you. The other part that I agree with you on, Scott, is, like you said, we love the guests, right? If I were a guest on this network and I knew I only had limited opportunity to get out my expertise, shall we say, I would lead with the best thing I had, even if it was like a minus 155. And I talk about, hey, I know, that maybe you don't like drinking all this juice, but I'm still doing that. I'd rather have the tape of me being 1-0, you know what I mean, than than kind of going out there. But to the earlier point about your 5 on the line today, we saw it. Elder is pitching to like a 5.6 ERA on this one so far. And then Spence is also over 4. So I really think not only do I like the ballpark factor for this over, but these are 2 hitters that can be had. Not only the ERA, but look, Elder's whip right there was 1.52. That means there are a lot of base runners going to be here. So I'm intrigued not only by the full game total, but the first 5 total as well. Usually we do this in the reverse, right? Like backing the starting pitchers, Scott, and wanting to take the bullpens out of it. Here, I'm thinking we're going to get runs early looking at what these starters are in fact giving up. So I would be intrigued not only with the 10.5 full game total, but the first 5 total as well.
Yeah. Speaking of runs early, man, this is, I know they did it last night. I'm not sure if they scored in the first inning on Monday. I know it was, if it wasn't the first, it was the second then for Cleveland. Just like that, Dane, they're off to a 2-0 lead again on Houston. I mean, man, What is going on with the Astros? How do you figure that his team was playing lousy? They were 0-10. And not only 0-10, but they're 10 and like 25 since their good start. I mean, they've been awful for the last month. And now they're going into Houston and playing so well. It's so crazy.
I got to tell you, to me, this just signals opportunity. We've been talking about it in the WNBA for a while, Scott. I still believe that the Houston Astros are the better team. I still don't believe in Saucony on the hill for Cleveland. So Houston Astros plus 154 on the money line. This is a Houston Astros team that was minus 150 going into this game closing. Now they're at plus 154. And by the same token, St. Louis were minus 120. The Cardinals, they are down 3-1, but a lot of game left in that. They can now get them at plus 168. Or if you want to be a little bit more risky, you can take the Cardinals and the Astros plus a run and a half, right? Each of them, that's minus 114, minus 136. But you put them together, and then you could put that at about 2 or 3 to 1. If you want to get both of those teams that were home favorites, plus a run and a half, put them together in a 2-leg parlay, you're talking about like plus 230 or something like that if you want a little bit of early action. Again, Scott, yeah. I believe in the home teams that are favorites, that are down early. I believe these are prototypical in-game live situations, and the Cardinals and the Astros are 2 on the board right now. Even if you don't think they come all the way back on the run line, the plus 1.5 is another way to go.
Yeah, 5 to 1 that is right now. If you put that parlay in on FanDuel, plus 490, well 480, just lowered a little bit with the Cardinals. So yeah, that's not bad. And then if you really want to get gutsy, it's 1-0 Kansas City over Pittsburgh. Now, rarely do I recommend putting your hard-earned American money on the Pirates, especially these days the way they've been playing. But it is still only 1-0. Bottom of the third, you're getting plus 265. I mean, who's Kansas City to be laying over 3 bills to anybody, even with a 1-0 lead?
I'm talking about Cardinals plus a run and a half and Astros plus a run and a half at about 230.
Oh, that's even better. There you go. SGP coming up next. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. You said it. The home team who's a double-digit or close to it anyway favorite and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in game live. Game day here on the grid. Hour number 1 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Scott and Dane Martinez until 10 p.m. Eastern time. Time for a little SGP same game parlay. All right, we're going to use the A's and Atlanta Braves game we talked about there a little bit in the last segment. And you got to go with Oakland/Sacramento. We'll just say the Athletics, I suppose. Basically, pick a -105 at home against Atlanta. Braves have lost 10 of their last 12. Season worst, 11 games under 500. Boy, they are just going in the wrong direction. They got swept by Baltimore at home. Then they head out to Sacramento. They lose last night, getting walloped 10-1. I don't know if it's going to be 10-1 tonight, but, to me, it's an A's play or nothing. So with that, let's go A's. Let's go over A's team runs, +120. We're going to bump it up to 5.5. I got more faith in the A's scoring 6 runs than I do the game going over, just because the Braves bats have been so bad lately. They figure to get some runs tonight, they do, but I just didn't want to take any chance on a parlay. The odds are going to get boosted up enough, so count on the A's to get their 6 runs. Going to use Brent Rooker to get 1 hit. Jacob Wilson got plunked last night, so he's out of the lineup for the A's, so Rooker's going to be the main guy if he isn't already anyway, an all-star. He's going to get 2 bases. I'm counting on him getting either 2 hits or at least a double. Going to use Acuna because every time I put an A's in there, sometimes with FanDuel, Dane, you put these parlays in and you're surprised the numbers are so high. This was one of those times where it went the other way, where it's like, man, no matter what I was doing, it was not bumping the thing up. So I had to go put Acuna in, which I'm okay with. Get a base hit, same thing, 2 bases. Yeah, it was just too much correlated, I guess. So I put Acuna in there, and it bumped it up to a decent little +619 on the parlay. So A's over A's team total 5.5. We bumped it up from 4.5. Rooker, a hit and 2 bases, and Acuna a hit and 2 bases.
I like it. Listen, I was going to ask you why you do the Acuna, because I think, Scott, you're really great at, kind of having all of these fit the narrative of the game, right? And so I wondered why you were going to also put, the big bat on the Atlanta side in there. The other thing I got to ask you, because you're putting 6 legs in there, right? So the amount of legs you're putting in the parlay is what's pretty much giving you that multiplier. So then why did you also push the team total higher? Like, my thing is now all of a sudden the A's are going to score 5 runs in the game and you're going to be like, but you got a little bit more risky with one of the legs, where inherently the 6-leg parlay is what's supposed to be the risky part of it. So I question/applaud you for getting a little bit ambitious with the team total on the A's side.
Yeah, it's pure greed. That's all it is. When I put the 4.5 was like -150 or so, and it was like only 4-1. I'm like, you know what? That's not enough. God forbid I should only win 4-1 or so on a bet, right? So I said, all right,
can't go broke.
Yeah, I said, let me see how much for one more run, and then it bumped it up like 200 points. So I was like, all right, you know what? If they get 5, then I'll be kicking myself. I will, but let's hope they get 6. And I must say that was before I realized Wilson was out. So even though I didn't put it in yet, I kind of had it in my brain like, okay, they're going to get 6-7 runs. And then I realized their best player got plunked last night on the wrist. And I'm like, let me just leave it. So, and I kind of view the Acuna and the Rooker as one, even though they're 2 bets. Like, you can get 1 hit with Rooker and 1 hit with Acuna and accomplish both. So I look at it as a 4-leg parlay.
You just want them both going and hit a double in the gap and you're home free on that, right? So I like the Rooker. I like the Acuna, I guess. And, you kind of play around with it, right? Massage it on the edges, see if you can get the number that you like. I would have been interested if you would have put in a couple of other things because you're on the A's side of it, right? I wonder if there would have been other ways that maybe you could have faded Elder, to put in there as a leg. But to your point, it sounds like they weren't really giving you that bump up on the overall number if you were doing more things. So you had to get a little bit creative.
I tell you what I could have done, and you could do this if you're going to put this info. You can eliminate, as you mentioned, Dan, eliminate the team total. Because if you did the team total with 4.5 juiced, it doesn't change it from no total at all. Literally like 30 points or so, honestly. And that's why I went to the next level. So the next level does bump it up But if you don't, if you're not confident in them getting 6, it's not worth putting the 4.5 in. They just don't put it in at all, and they'll probably pay about $3.50 or so.
Yeah, I hate
but it
that
is
when I
funny.
add another leg to the parlay and it adds, the total by like another 87 cents or something like that. I'm like, forget it.
What's the point? Yeah, it's crazy. So, but anyway, that's what we got. Justin Murray. Talk a little baseball with our next guest here on the Grid. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. You said it. The home team who's a double-digit or close to it anyway favorite and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking in to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the Grid. Scott, Dane Martinez, our number one. Chicago Sky up 5 midway through the second quarter, by the way. WNBAs were on the Sky tonight. Keep your fingers crossed on that one, laying 4.5. I think I'd still lay the 4.5 to tell you the truth. But put the WNBA aside for a sec. We got the full slate of Major League Baseball, so let us welcome in a guy who joins us all the time here on the Grid, Justin Perry. Check out all his work. Fantasy baseball writer at pitcherlist.com. Also, Hoops HQ covers the WNBA as well, and NBA, obviously. Justin, Scott, Dane, how are you today, bud?
Scott, Dane, thank you so much for having me on the show. Always appreciate the introduction. It is such an honor to come on and just talk about sports, some analytics, data. It is a great time. We got baseball, a little summer league if you're a real sicko, and of course WNBA. I've been doing a lot of live betting and props, so it's been a good time.
Did you have anything WNBA before we get to the baseball with this game?
Not on this game pregame right now. I'd look for the Wings to maybe get back in. Our shot quality data currently has this one as a 1-point Wings lead, even though they are down 6. So if you like a little spooky spread action going on the losing team right now, taking a little bit of an extra, maybe overstuffed line there for the Wings as they try to fight back into this game against the Sky. A tough second quarter here with only 5 points scored while the Sky have 10 to an expected 8. So a good time to jump in, if any.
Hey, Justin, I got to ask you about a game going on in the West Coast a little bit later on. I say the West Coast because it's not Vegas, it's not Oakland, it's in Sacramento where the Athletics are playing against the Braves. And I actually, the full game total is at 10.5, but that has been a bandbox out there in Sacramento. And then I even see Elder on the hill for Atlanta pitching to a 5+ ERA, a 1.5 whip. But it sounds like you are taking the first 5, not attacking these starting pitchers, but showing some actual confidence. Talk to me about your bet when it comes to the first 5 total in that one.
Isn't that makes me sound a little crazy, huh? It has been tough to do anything but allow runs, it seems, in Sacramento. But tonight, a 5.5 on the first 5 is just going to be a little bit high for me. I do think Elder does have plenty of reasons to be concerned. I rate him a little bit worse than an average pitcher right now. But my interpretation, honestly, Dane, is that the market has him as almost near the bottom of the barrel in terms of the pricing. So I'm not going to tell you Elder's great. I'm going to tell you you're probably getting a little bit of an overinflated total here. The same thing goes for Spence. I have him, the market rating him right around like a -1. I'd go in like a 30 to -30 scale for my proprietary grades. I have the market at a -1, but I'm at around a 6. So just a little bit of an extra push there. I like what we're seeing from Spence. I mean, both these guys, the expected fielding independent pitching is at 4 or below, while, the ERA for Elder is sitting at 6. So some of the metrics here may be pointing towards some bad luck. And all you need is 1 run less, right? I'll take 5. Just give me 5. I don't need, it's scoring 6 in 5 innings can be tough, even with the ball soaring out of there. I still think there's a lot of question marks around this Braves offense, and we've seen some of the Athletics pitchers do okay. This isn't necessarily the bet I think is like 100%, but it's been going well. The data's been doing really nicely for me the last couple of weeks, so I'll continue to trust it. This number is just a little high.
Does it help if Jacob Wilson doesn't play? I don't know if he is or not. He got hit by a pitch last night, taken out of the game. I mean, certainly, I'm not having him in the lineup can't hurt, obviously, right?
No, it definitely doesn't hurt. The Athletics have a little bit of that depth issue, right? They found some of these guys. They got Butler, Lawrence, Langeliers, Rooker, Wilson going to be the AL ROY this season. It's a great story. I actually am a big fan of watching it unfold. Some of the stuff that's going on over there. I like to root for the players still. But no, I think there's lots of reason to think that both these lineups kind of peter out at the end. Ozzie Albies having one of the worst seasons I've seen. I don't think anyone expected him to be this bad this season. Just can't seem to make a lot of contact. Hits in 3 straight games. Finally feels like maybe he's doing something, but it's, 13 at-bats. It's just there needs to be a little bit more from the back end of this Braves lineup, and I think a lot of people are feeling that. Wouldn't be shocked. A couple well-placed strikeouts can kill big innings very quickly, regardless of how easy it is of a park to hit in.
Hey, Justin, I see that you have, Texas comes into Los Angeles as short favorites on the road, right? But it actually looks like you're backing the Angels side, or at least you think they can score some runs tonight.
Yeah, I like the runs in this game tonight. It's a little bit tougher, but, you're going up against Kumar Rocker, who has kind of started maybe turning it on. I think there's a little bit of pause there. There's been a little bit of reworking in his approach, so he's been throwing a lot more cutters, and I think it's really kind of changed out the way people are seeing him. But, what happens a lot in baseball is you make some changes, you change your mechanics, you change your approach, and teams just need to catch up a little bit. So the novelty of a new approach can sometimes just take a week until the guys get film on it, and they're like, all right, well, he's going to throw the cutter, and he's going to mix it in with the sinker. Like, that's all he's gone. He's gone to a 2-pitch mix. All it's going to take is a little bit of that thin air. It's a decent hitting environment out in L.A. still. We might see a couple balls leave the park. I like the Angels to score. They still got some dudes. Shanuel, Neto. They still got Mike Trout doing his thing. It is not necessarily the worst lineup. They just added Yohan Moncada back in there, who was actually starting to hit well since his departure from the White Sox, a la Andrew Vaughn over in Milwaukee. I think this Angels team could put up a couple runs, and Rocker's a star prospect, don't get me wrong, but he can struggle a little bit. So it wouldn't be shocking to see the Angels get 3 runs in 5 innings here. And then on the other side is Kyle Hendricks, who's holding a 4.67 ERA, 4.68 ERA. It's just not pretty. So I'll take runs. Give me some runs in Anaheim today.
Yeah, I looked at Rocker's numbers, and you're right. He is like 1-6 or 1-7 with an ERA over 7 on the road. But as you pointed out, Justin, he actually, if if you look at his last 2 or 3 outings on the road, they've been much better. And I think he's given up 2 runs or less, if correct me if I'm wrong, his last 4 outings overall. So he has actually pitched a little bit better, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's been a little bit of a revitalization. He was someone I was telling people to speculatively add in fantasy because of the change to his pitch mix, right? And when pitchers try to rework things, you can essentially change the fabric of the way they play the game. They're a new pitcher. So I'm not necessarily 100% in on that change. Things could still, go wrong. The cutter looks great, but all it takes is a few misplaced spots there. And a lot of the data that we're showing on some of those earlier starts in the year were still pretty concerning. It's still baseball. Guys don't necessarily just flip a switch and then every single start out for the rest of time. They're good, right? Rocker could falter. He could have a little bit of a tough start. It could just be, one extra play that leads to him unraveling in the 3rd inning against the top of the order. I think it's gone very well for him recently, but I think the pricing that has come as a reflection of that in the last 3 to 4 weeks is just maybe a bit too aggressive. I'll go against it and look for some runs. These are not bad offenses. Sometimes I think people maybe poo-poo the Angels a little bit too much. Yeah, they swing and miss, but if they make contact, you're going to get some extra base hits.
Hey, Justin, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I mean, the Mariners are in the Bronx tonight, right? Cal Raleigh 0 for 2, and Aaron Judge has been intentionally walked by the Seattle Mariners. I thought Raleigh, now that he was in that bandbox in the Bronx, would all of a sudden be hitting home runs like he says on hot mics. With your projections and stuff like that, how many home runs is Raleigh going to finish with? And is Aaron Judge going to put together like a triple crown kind of season? Where do you see these guys finishing?
I think I'm a little bit pessimistic on Raleigh. I think there's been some of the numbers that have shown that even if playing at like Yankee Stadium for the whole season, he'd have less home runs than whatever, the scheduling has woven his season into in terms of where he's been at the time those fly balls have come off his bat. We don't really get to play hypotheticals too much in baseball. You just have to sit there and say, all right, here's what he could have done at this stadium, and here's what he actually did. So it's going very nicely for Cal Raleigh. And I think that's a great story. You're never going to hear me, even as a Yankee homer, who could jump on the 4 or 5 and get up there in 20 minutes right now. You're never going to hear me say that it's bad for someone to be chasing Aaron Judge, to be leading Aaron Judge. It's awesome. I think he goes for 60, Raleigh probably 59, 60. It's going to get tough. They're going to keep pitching him out. They're going to keep getting him on base. They're going to keep walking him. And Judge triple crown, yeah, I could see it happening. I mean, he's by far the best hitter in baseball right now. And that strike zone's so big. And the fact that he can cover so much ground is something people don't talk about. Being 6'8" does not help. It makes it even harder. So he's crazy.
But doesn't have enough guts to be in the home run hitting contest. Justin Perry, shot quality bets. I got to leave it at that.
On it at the end, huh, Scott?
That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. Have you said it? The home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favorite, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking in to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, like, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, like, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going like, ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in game live. Game day here on the grid. Scott Dane, hour number one. Thanks again, Justin Perry, shotqualitybets.com, at fantasypitcherlist.com as well. Hoops HQ as well. He's all over the place, as a lot of us are in the industry. So, baseball board we go. We got a couple of changes here. Seattle now trailing the Yanks 6-4. As things, Yankees, every time they pull away, Dane, the Mariners get a couple more on the board to keep it somewhat close. So batting top of the sixth inning, no one on, nobody out, it looks like, for Seattle. Getting plus 420, over-under is 13.5. Boy, the ball seems to be flying. Can we get 4 more runs? You're in the sixth inning. You got 3 more at-bats for the Yankees, 4 more for the Mariners, if you want to count this top of the sixth inning. Why wouldn't you? I might go over 13.5 if you want a little action on the game.
Yeah, I think that's viable. Like you said, already 10 runs on the board. The only thing here for me is with the Yankees as the home team up, right? You may not get that bottom of the ninth. And we've talked about that when betting totals. We've talked about that when betting run lines. That would be the risky part for me. This also is a series both teams need to have. I think, I would want to have access to the data of bullpen availability, bullpen usage, to see kind of if the A relievers are in this game, what looks like a 2-run game right now, to see if the best guys out of both pens can go. Also, by the way, Scott, we were looking before. Minnesota got out onto an early lead against the Cubbies, but the Cubbies are coming back. What was 3-0 is now 3-2 Minnesota, but the Cubs just get out of the top of the fourth. They were threatening, had runners on the corners, and ended it right there. So it's 3-2 Minnesota. There was an opportunity. I think you could have gotten the Cubs at like plus 420 at some point, and they are back on the comeback trail as well.
Yeah, still get 2-1. It's not 4 and change. I get that, but still, it's not bad. I do believe in the winners bet with streaks, losers bet against streaks mantra, Dane. But I also do like betting on teams to not get swept. A good team, when it's an evenly matched series, like I view, Chicago probably even better than Minnesota. They dropped the first 2. You look at it like, are they really going to get swept by Minnesota, which really has not been playing good ball? So that's the one time I go against that streak thing, whereas normally you just bet Minnesota. But I think the Cubbies at 2-1, showing a little life here. Good to see them not roll over after being down 3-0. Again, it's not the 4 and change. It was, but at least they're back in it. And, I got a 2-1 bet on a team that's down 1 run in, the 4th inning, bottom of the 4th. Yeah. I mean, we got over half the game left. So I'll take that. I'll take a crack on the Cubbies.
Also, the Twins starter Festa through 4 innings has now thrown 62 pitches. So we're going to get to the bullpen there pretty soon, I would think, as well. And remember, our good friend, my sportsbook consigliere, and we all hope that Dave is doing well. He always says that more runs are scored in the 5th and 6th innings, right? Third time through the lineup, start to get to that first guy out of the bullpen. So the Cubs have even more opportunity, in my opinion, to get back and potentially take the lead. I loved it at 420. To your point, I still like it at 2-1.
Yeah. We talked about him off the air. I don't think on the air. Alcantara getting racked again today. 6-0 Miami trailing Cincinnati. And that's another play. I did like Cincinnati. Were they really going to get swept by Miami, of all teams, at home especially? I know the Marlins have been playing very well. We got their over second-half team total as far as wins are concerned. So I'm kind of rooting for them. But I didn't think they would go down to Cincy and sweep Cincy. And Alcantara, boy, he had like 2 or 3 decent starts there, but the last 2 are back to him getting rocked, and he got rocked again today, Dane.
Yeah, listen, he had that amazing Cy Young season, right? And then he had the arm trouble. It's hard to know what you're going to get when you come back from Tommy John, right? It's really hard to know what you're going to look like. And he just has not really, like you said, 1 or 2 starts earlier in the season, notwithstanding, he has not regained that form. I bet Craig Mish knows the answer to that. He's a guy we got to ask about what Sandy Alcantara has been looking like. But, it's a shame. And it just goes to show you that, coming back from Tommy John, it is such a mixed bag. So we'll see. But, you're absolutely right. Cincy were about minus 140 favorites at home. And to your point, were they really going to have the Marlins come on in and sweep them on the road?
Yeah. Red Sox add another one. It's 5-0, bottom of the 6th inning. So I need one more for my over 5.5. You keep your fingers crossed on that one. So we'll keep you posted. Kansas City scored 2 more. 3-1 over the Pirates. Well, I tell you, the Pirates had their 15 minutes of fame. Back-to-back sweeps over St. Louis. They had won like 4 in a row, playing great. They head out to Seattle, and it's back to being the Pittsburgh Pirates. They get blanked 3 straight against the Pirates, and they're in the process of getting swept by the Kansas City Royals, who were playing lousy ball. They were 1-12 heading into this series at home, their last 13 games. And, top of the 5th inning, 3-0. They're about to make it 3 in a row, I imagine.
Yeah, listen, and I was with you on Monday thinking about these 2 teams being under, right? They went over the number in that one, but these are 2 teams that really cannot score. And to your point, when you say the Pittsburgh Pirates kind of like revert back to who they are, that's why baseball is such a marathon, Scott, and that's why it's funny at the beginning of the season when you see guys hitting 0.93 or you see an ERA of like 11.5 or something like that. You could always distill a kind of 2-week stretch where great teams are going to struggle, like we're seeing the Dodgers right now, where bad teams like the Pirates are going to look good. And you can see the same thing with hitters, right? A hitter that is a true 290, 300 hitter is going to go 0 for 17 at some stretch of the season, right? And vice versa. So that's why it's just such a marathon. But you're right. These 2 teams reverting to form. I was liking the under 8.5 in this game just because of that. It always reverts back to the back of the baseball card, Scott.
Yeah, it's amazing. The good, as the saying goes, every team wins 50, every team loses 50. What do you do with the other 50 or 60? And in that 50 or 60 game streak of winning and losing, you're going to get some. You just are. Dodgers losing 6 in a row. How about that? For the first time since 2019. In a year in which, oh, by the way, they won 106 games that year. They actually had a 6-game losing streak. They only lost like 50-some games. So,
that's what I'm saying. It's going to happen. You can slice and dice and pick your spots, and it's always going to happen with every team. That's why I think the idea of, like you said, is a team really going to get swept? It's so hard, and streaks are going to be broken. Everything reverts back to the mean eventually.
Yeah. So many people I know wanted to bet the Dodgers, saying, they're not going to lose 6 in a row. And I was telling them, you were saying that yesterday, and you were saying that 2 days ago, and you were saying that back to the Houston series. Let them play out. Then play on the Dodgers when they start playing winning baseball again. Black Cloud coming up next. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. You said it. The home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favorite, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick 'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, like, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, like, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going like, ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that weren't household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Our number one final segment. Time for our best play, Black Cloud Play of the Day. All right, we actually lost again. I think this is the first time since we've been doing this, honestly, that we've lost two straight Black Clouds. And we lost by one strikeout. We had a guy, Merrill Kelly, last night, over 4.5. I know it was the Padres. But he had 5 strikeouts in 9 of his last 10 starts. How wasn't he going to get 5? Even against San Diego, which does not strike out a lot. He ended up with 4. So, all right, still 23 games over 500, but we got to get back to the well because I don't think we've ever had a losing week with our Black Cloud. So we got to win tonight. Pressure on the line. Where are we going to go? Forget the props. Done with the props. Won't go full game. I'm going to be really smart about this. Going to grab the Padres. Minus 138 with Dylan Cease on the hill against Arizona first 5. And the difference between first 5 and being a push is not really that much. Like it's like soccer. You can bet first 5, as I'm doing, lay the minus 138. If it ends up being tied, then you don't lose your bet. If you want to be able to get even, then you lay the even money on San Diego, whereas you would lose your bet. Or the other way around. My bad. If it is a tie, we lose our bet. But I don't think it's going to be a tie. So I'm going to lay the minus 138 rather than grab the even money. So minus 138, it's Dylan Cease. He's not been good this year, but at home he has. His numbers are in half at home, and that's where they're pitching tonight. Arizona up and down, San Diego up and down. You got two really consistent mediocre teams. But I think the Padres winning last night, they're going to win again. Cease on the hill, rubber game of the 3-game series. So long story short, Dane, give me San Diego first 5 with Cease on the hill against Arizona tonight.
Listen, Scott, I like it. A little bit later on in the show, before that goes off, I'll tell you how I am also backing Dylan Cease in this one. So, we're on the same page. We are in solidarity. And remember, Scott, we were just talking about, will that team actually get swept? And so I can't have the Black Cloud get swept, right? There's no way
Yes.
The Black Cloud loses 3 in a row, right? I think you've been telling me that it's something like 40 games over 500 so far this season. So if you have not been watching In-Game Live recently, there is no way Scott's Black Cloud is going to lose 3 nights in a row. So that means obviously the fathers are definitely going to get out to an early lead here on the Snakes in this one. But just to tell you, Scott, you mentioned that Cease is pitching better at home. I like Dylan Cease to go over his strikeout prop today, which is 6.5 strikeouts. Dylan Cease has 121 strikeouts in only 97 innings pitched so far this season. That is 6th best in the NL. And as you said, he is pitching better at home. So I think because of that, he will stay in the game longer, which allows him to potentially get there. And he has had 7 or more strikeouts in 4 of his last 6 starts. I think this is an opportunity for us to see the good version of Dylan Cease. So I'm with you. Let's take the Padres in the first 5. And I think Cease will strike out at least 7 members of Arizona tonight.
All right, I like that. Yeah, overall, he's 3-8 with an ERA of 4.62. And you're probably saying, why in the world are these two bozos supporting Dylan Cease tonight, right? But at home, as I mentioned, 3-2 with a 2.76 ERA at home.
Go.
Pitches ballpark, and that's why. On the road, I'd stay away, but at home and Dane, you get the advantage, little advantage, but it is, I do think, an advantage of having the visiting team obviously bat first. So the other way, sometimes the pitcher stays in there extra half an inning,
right?
Because the manager wants him to get the win. So if it's a tie game, for your case especially, okay, you know what? Go out there and pitch the 6th inning because it's tied 2-2, and we'll bat in the bottom of the 6th, and we'll give you an opportunity to win the game if we end up scoring. So there is little slight advantages to betting over strikeout props with the home pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, he's gotten to 7 or more, 4 of his last 6 starts, and that includes a game with 11 Ks. That includes a game with 9 Ks. Like I said, his 121 on the season is 6th best in the National League. Cease has always been a strikeout pitcher, and I think he gets it done tonight. And hopefully that, he stifles Arizona, and the Padres are out to a lead after 5 as well.
Yeah. Speaking of the lead at the half, Chicago Sky leading Dallas 45-37, now laying 6.5 with one of our 5 on the line trend plays. Dallas, I don't know why they just they don't play. 1-8 their last 9 against Chicago, and Chicago's been mediocre at best last couple of years, and Dallas is not been great, but. They shouldn't be 1-8 their last 9, I'll tell you that, but they are. So, all right, good start for Chicago, the Sky. Dubs Anderson, Dubsy, hour number 2, coming up next here on the Grid. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. You said it. The home team who's a double-digit or close to it anyway favorite and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a 6th man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking in to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. It's really bad. Now the past couple weeks, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the Grid. Hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Scott Wetzel, Dane Martinez in for Dave Sherapan as we watch a little baseball, a little WNBA. We'll say the Yankees helping our over 13.5 as they put 3 more on the board. It's now 9-4. So we're at the 13. So we need one more run as they bat in the bottom of the 6th inning with a run around second base. So hopefully we can make that a nice little winning bet. Guys, got to join us now. Got a ton of winning bets. Mr. Dubs Anderson, Mr. Dubs, you follow him on Twitter. What's going on, Dubs? How are you tonight?
Happy Wednesday, gentlemen. Happy hump day. Cannot believe you're giving this outfit choice a bit of a hard time there. During the commercial break, I thought, you know what, I'm catching up with my guy, Dane in opposite
We didn't get you on the way to a funeral or something, did we? You go to, is it a funeral or something? You know, or someone to die?
on the way back from the funeral. Didn't even like him. So let's see if we can back a couple of winners here this evening, gents. Dog days of summer. Think not. We still got the PGA Tour. 2 events for the PGA Tour this week. We've got plenty of baseball plays, WNBA, the tennis. Don't sleep on the old Wimbledon there as well. So opposite picks. Dane, good to see you, gents. Where do we start? Where do you want the first winner coming from? And I'll deliver.
So the first thing I got to ask you, I mean, listen, I got to ask you about the golf, right? The Scottish Open going on. And I want to ask you who you like in this, but I also want to ask you not just for the picks, because we know they go on across the pond. They're going to play a little bit of links golf. And a lot of these guys play the Scottish Open to get ready for the Open Championship the following week, right? So how do you handicap a tournament? And is there anything to the idea that maybe these guys are just trying stuff out this week because they're almost like practicing for the Open, which I think is at Portrush or something in about a week and a half? Like, are these guys like fine-tuning their game and maybe not even putting their best foot forward for the Scottish Open? How do you go ahead and almost practice for the major and still bet guys to win the Scottish Open?
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring up there, Dane. It's the penultimate tournament, the Scottish Open, ahead of next week's Open Championship, Royal Portrush, and there's obviously going to be a lot of juice on the line for that one. So in terms of how it looks differently, it's a co-sanctioned event. So we do see a lot of the DP World Tour names that we're not familiar with seeing week in, week out, teeing it up early Thursday morning, late Wednesday night. And for a lot of the golfers, they may try and tinker with, a club setup. The golf courses over there, contrastingly different to what we see here with the bomb and gouge style of golf. A lot more shots are going to be run along the ground. Maybe they add a wedge into the bag. Maybe they start to look at lower lofts for a 3-wood, rescue, hybrid, so those kinds of options. But for the big guys and the big names, and they're all teeing it up this week, all 5 of the top golfers in the world, they're trying to win this tournament. The Scottish Open, it's not a major, it's not the Tour Championship, but there's certainly a lot of prestige. This is the home of golf going across the pond. So my angle has always been, for the big names, they're trying to win this from the jump, but if they get off to a sluggish start on Thursday, be a little cautious in trying to pick them up with that live betting, because if they lose focus, then maybe suddenly things turn towards next week ahead of Royal Portrush. But this is a quality field. They're signed up. They're trying to win a golf tournament on a very tough golf course. Usually we're expecting Mother Nature to come into play for any link-style golf course, and we do find that at the Renaissance Club. But in terms of the forecast, I've been looking at it all day, quite docile, the conditions. So it could be some softer scoring out there for the big boys, and I think it actually lends itself well to a lot of the players who are just coming across from the PGA Tour. You want to look towards those strokes gained on approach to the iron players. They're going to come to the top of the board this week. So with that, it's a quality field, A+. If there's a big name that I'd be keeping an eye on, I think it's Colin Morikawa. He's been playing with a bit of a chip on the shoulder. The putting has been streaky. I like streaky this week, but it's the iron play and that ability to find the fairway. I don't care if you're playing resort-style golf in the US or link-style golf, that ability to find the middle of the fairway. You can spin the ball, avoid some of these pot bunkers, avoid the 6s and 7s, because there's going to be bogeys, there's going to be doubles all week and going into next. It's just about damage control. And I think Colin Morikawa could be primed up for a massive run this week at the Scottish Open at plus 2,500, so good price as well.
All right, that's a good price. You got an even longer long shot, right, that you like as well?
Yeah, Adam Scott, my fellow countryman, he was right in the thick of it a few weeks ago at the US Open. And what stood out about that US Open, it was gritty, it was tough. You need every shot in the bag. Now, for a lot of the golfers, it's as far as we can hit it. It's a chipping contest. For Adam Scott, his golf game is more suited to a golf course that's going to reward everything. Accuracy off the tee, ball striking, short game. His putting surprisingly been a lot better the last couple of seasons. And for Adam Scott, you could argue the one major that got away was the Open Championship from him. That's coming up next week. But he was right there this time last year. He finished runner-up to Robert McIntyre, who went absolutely berserko in his home Open last year. Adam Scott, he's 44 years of age now, opposite pick. But I tell you what, he's still finding his best form. So watch out for the Aussie. Adam Scott on a golf course where you need a bit of everything. He was runner-up here last year at the Renaissance Golf Club at plus 55. He's priming up for the big ones. This is a big one. Have your way.
Hey, Dubs, let's go over to a little bit of baseball on games that haven't started yet out there on the West Coast by you. It sounds like you are backing all 3 home teams tonight on the West Coast and putting them in a little bit of a parlay, trying to, increase that profit.
Yeah, really am, Dane, and I think it's going to be a sort of a home court warrior special, if you will. Luckily, the Dodgers aren't playing in the late slate. How bad have they been the last week or so? They absolutely suck. So let's start with my team, the LA Angels, as of a week ago. They're taking on the Rangers. I like it. You get an even money here. It's going to be an ugly game, boys. Not trying to get around that. It's a battle of the 2 bullpens. It's tough in terms of which one we want to trust there, but I think for the Angels, that offense, it finally woke up. 13-1 there last night. I think we see a similar affair here tonight. What have we got? Rocket going against Hendricks, LA, local kid down there, Newport Beach. I think it's going to be happy returns there. It's not going to be a great game in terms of the total there at 9.5. I think that's a little optimistic, but I'm going to go with the Angels. Lower scoring, lower offense input from what we saw last night, but they do just enough to take down the Rangers in this AL West showdown. That's leg number 1.
Leg number 2?
I thought you'd ask their opposite picks. Diamondbacks against the Padres. Give me San Diego. And I heard you boys prior to coming on there. Dylan Cease, San Diego, Petco Park, pitcher friendly. They're 28-16 at home. I'm going to take Cease to have a monster here on your Wednesday night. Brendan Fart, look, he's a bit of a rocks or diamonds. I don't think we see the diamonds here this evening. You look for Dylan Cease at home, arguably so much better than taking that game on the road. A 2.76 ER rate, 8 starts at Petco, 6.27 going on the road. Happy returns for my guy Cease and for the Padres. I'll tell you what, I think they're still at a nice-looking price, 32-1 for World Series odds. If you're looking for a team out here in the West to make a bit of a tilt, I still think it's San Diego with that firepower. And then we'll close it out. The Braves up in Sacramento going against the Athletics. I hate to play the Athletics, whether I'm riding them or going against them, but here I am. I've got the Athletics. They're at home, struggling to find a bit of a spark for the Braves there. They've lost 10 of the last 12. Athletics, they light it up. It's a hot night out here on the West Coast. There should be plenty of offense to match in this one.
All right, Dubs, good job. Real quickly, who's got a better chance of losing? Sinner against the Joker or Alcaraz against Fritz on Friday?
The class rises to the top. I think the Joker's life. For Taylor Fritz, wake up. When's it going to happen? Is this the spot? I can't trust him. Too much Mr. Nice Guy. Nice guys, finish last, Scotty. We know that.
Thanks, Dubsy. Dubs Anderson. Great job, man.
Thanks, Dub.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all. It's
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high, But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Dane, thanks to Dubs Anderson for joining us as he does from time to time right here on Sports Grid. So back to the baseball board here. Dane got a couple things progressing along. First up, it's now 9-6. Yankees over Seattle. So that over 13.5 we suggested about 10 minutes ago. That's a winner. Cha-ching, cha-ching. I figured the way the ball's been flying out tonight that would hit. So that was a nice easy winner. And we're probably going to get even more runs. I wouldn't double down, but I wouldn't be betting on any unders in that game. I'll tell you that. Pittsburgh scored a run against Kansas City, now trailing 3-1. We were going to say, grab the Pirates because they were offering us 2.5 runs at only like minus 138 or so, and they had the bases loaded. So I was going to say, I know you were going to say as well, grab Pittsburgh plus the 2.5 runs. Now it's down to 1.5. You're getting odds. They do have runners on second and third, but it looks like there's 2 out, though, unfortunately.
There are 2 outs, so there was bases loaded, a ground out, got the run home, right? So now there is 2 outs, but at the same time, it's still plus 390 on the money line. It's still plus money for the 1.5 here. Brian Hayes is up, runners on second and third, and a 2-1 count. If Brian Hayes gets a base hit, we got a tie ball game. You know what I mean? Right. So I almost still think it's an interesting opportunity to plant the flag. So we'll see what happens in this one. But these are one of those leverage points. And Scott, conceptually, that's part of the reason why it's so great to bet baseball live, right? Because if you take a position on something like, hey, they're going to get these runs in, or hey, they're going to get a double play to get out of the inning, the books have to kind of adjust those numbers. And if you take a position, anticipate what's going to happen, you could really be holding some nice tickets.
Yeah,
and look, and that's what it was. Base hit Brian Hayes. So we now have a 3-3 tie all of a sudden, just like we were saying. He singles to left center. Okay, so now this game is tied at 3, and all of a sudden I see Pittsburgh now to plus 134 on the money line. Yep. And all of a sudden that plus 1.5 that was plus money for the Pirates, now that plus 1.5 is at minus 310. So literally, as we were saying this, that's exactly what happened. And you got about $2.50 of value on the money line. And all of a sudden we've got a tie ball game in Kansas City.
Yeah. And you know what I was going to say too, Dane, at that point, because you said it without saying it, but you said it. That, I don't think that was going to be 3-2. I think it was either going to be 3-1 or 3-3. Right. Base hit with 2 out more than likely is going to drive in that runner from second base because he's been going, as soon as the ball is hit. So I was going to say, if you're going to bet them, you might as well bet the plus 390 because, again, it's either going to be 3-1 inning over or 3-3, not 3-2 in that situation. So it's locked up now. I'm guessing there's a pitching change. Yeah, the pitching change. They took Bubik out of the game. But, there you go. 3-3. We mentioned, Pirates before when they were down 1-0. So hopefully you hopped on board then. And now if you want to hedge out or go the other way, you can get yourself a guaranteed profit. So not bad. Beat some runs. I need one more run out of my Red Sox. But, they got a runner on second base. Very nice. Having Colorado score 2 in the top of the 8th kind of spurred things on again for the Red Sox. I'm sitting at an over 5.5 total. So we need one more. Yeah, right. You would think. A couple of nice little ground outs. I'll take it. Ground out to second, the ground out to shortstop, and boom, Make it a nice 6-2 game.
Manufacture a run, Scott. This is where they need to bunt the guy over for you, right?
Old school.
Too bad I doubt that they won't do that. They won't do that up 3 against the Colorado Rockies in the 8th inning, though. But let me tell you something. I honestly believe...
I saw a squeeze play. Was I working with you that day? Right?
Yes, I think it was on Monday we saw that, yeah. But I mean, listen,
so you
there
never
is
know.
no bad time to manufacture a run. And that is a lost art in Major League Baseball here, especially, you get that insurance run right there. I don't think they're going to do it, especially I see the guy with a 2-strike count, so he's certainly not going to do it at this point. But, I think it's a lost art. We're into this kind of just 3 true outcomes, right? The home run, the walk, and the strikeout. But there are still times, I especially think, Scott, and I know you as a purist are definitely going to agree with me. I don't know why more times in extra innings, when the inning starts with a man on second base and nobody out, I don't know why the leadoff man in the top of the 10th doesn't bunt the guy over.
Oh, I know. I would do it all the time. There's not a scenario you give me that I would not do it. Honestly, the worst time to do it, I suppose, is the team that's visiting, and so because they want to get the big inning. But you know what?
Right.
I'll take a 1-run lead. I'll take a 1-run lead heading to the bottom of the 10th inning.
Absolutely. And then all of a sudden, here, Scott, we're talking about bunting the guy over, and Gonzalez hits a 2-run shot. So what do we know, right? But by the way, you've hit your over.
Wow. How about that? There's so much
3
for
true
bunting.
outcomes,
You're right.
Scotty. 3 true outcomes.
It's amazing, and that's why they don't do it. Although in that situation, I understand you're up 3 at home.
Oh, no, you're up 3 in the 8th. But in the extra innings, honestly, why don't they do that a little bit more? Try to apply the pressure. And to be honest, if you're the home team and you somehow got out of the top of the 10th without giving up a run, then you've got to do it.
And I still see teams not do it, Dane. I still see teams. That's the only time I see them do it. But more times than not, they still don't do it. It makes no sense. But yeah, it's just crazy. They used to, the first year they did it a couple of years ago, you would always get it. And that's why you would always get at least 3 runs, because the top of the inning, they would score a run. Bottom, they would do the same thing, and you go to extra innings again, and it forces obviously a 3rd run. And that over-under, automatic. Then they stopped giving the over-under. And now they give it again because they realize teams don't do that anymore. And there are a lot of times you'll only get 1 run in extra innings because the top of the 10th will say it doesn't happen. So
I don't understand it.
Crazy.
Sometimes, like you said, Scotty, we should have like a coaching consulting service out there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some goofy analytics that say it's not worth it, this, that, what have you. But you know what? Give me the lead. I'll take the lead. And especially if I got a decent closer. I'll take it. I'd even bunt them home and really just say, all right, give me a 4-3 lead heading to the bottom of the 10th inning, even though I'm sacrificing.
I hear what you're saying, but what do we know? Because the guy went yard in this situation, right? So they tack on, but that's good because you got your team total home either way.
Did get that 5.5, yeah. So that was nice. Laying a little juice on that one because we came on live and they were already leading 1-0 or 3-0, I think it was. So we had to put in the 5.5. So not bad. All right, need to get something out of the Cubbies here. We'll come back, we'll take a look at that, and then we'll update the WNBA in-game live game day on the grid. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. You said it. The home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favorite, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt, and we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, like, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, like, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going like, ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that weren't household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Dane, hour number 2. We got baseball, one WNBA game. Things looking okay. It's going to come down to the wire, depending on what you did, either Chicago or the over. Getting more points here in the second half. So we got Chicago leading at 59-55. Trend said Chicago and the over, and you're giving us an over-under now, 177 and a half. I tell you, really, Dane, that was, the trend we did in our 5 on the line, as I mentioned before, was Chicago. They've beaten Dallas 8 of their last 9, so you got to play that, right? But I did like the over more as the play, just because they played twice this year. And the first game, it was back-to-back games. Paige Becker did play one of the 2 games. I wrote the scores down here somewhere. Hold on a second. First game was 97-92, 189 points. Then they played a day or two later, and it was 94-83, 177 points. And they were giving us tonight 166 and a half. I mean, I know 2 games is not a big sample size, but how can you? And I never bet it under. Rarely do I bet it under in a WNBA game anyway. And this is on pace for well, we had a 10-point cushion here with the over 166.5 originally, now at 177.5, 11-point cushion.
Yeah, I like that. I saw it just now live at 177.5. It's dropped slightly since you were talking. But I also got to tell you, and this is for the people who are watching, sometimes I say we don't just give you a fish, we teach you to fish. I think, Scott, what you also want, or the threat to this is if the game stays close, I think that hurts. I think the total will continue to fall because as we get towards, say 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and if this is still a 2-possession game, all of a sudden these teams are going to start milking the shot clock, right? Blowouts are better for the over. The tight games are when we see the entire shot clock utilized. So the margin that you see, and as long as for people who are betting the live total in this one and see that, it's up to the mid to high 170s, my only caution there on continuing to go over this live number is it is only a 4-point game. So as it gets nip and tuck later in the game, you might see some of these teams, it becomes more of a half-court game, more teams utilizing the full shot clock, and that is the threat to the live total in this one.
Yeah, I liked it better when it was a 9-point game, 7 and 9-point game, more than I did when it was a 4-point game. But hopefully we get some more points. But midway through the third quarter, not bad. And if you wanted to hedge or at least try a middle, maybe not necessarily hedge, but you can try a middle. You got to, you still got an 8-point middle there at 166 and a half and 174 and a half. It came down, as you mentioned, a couple points. And that's not a bad, 8-point middle is not too bad. My goal is like 10 with these over-unders when I try and middle things. But 8.5, that's not the worst thing in the world.
That's not bad. And to my point, it is a closer game right now, right? So I would not be surprised if it went under that live total we saw of 177.5. I would not be surprised if it fell within that middle right now.
Yeah. We got the 9-6 Yankees still batting bottom. Oh, by the way, what'd you think of the Yankees releasing DJ LeMahieu today? I was a little surprised. I mean, he's got a year left on his contract after this year. Not a lot of money. $22 million, which for you and I is a ton, right? It's a gazillion, but for baseball purposes, it's not a lot. But I mean, to give up on him completely like that, a little surprised. No.
A little bit, but at the same time, since he's come back from injury, like this is not the guy that won a batting title in Colorado. This is not the guy that was known as the machine even early in his Yankees career. He's been riddled with injuries. He's on the wrong side of 30, 35 years old, and it has looked bad, right? So I hear you that why not just keep him on the bench as a veteran, not a ton of money. But at the same time, I do think the Yankees are shopping for a third baseman. And the problem is, if you keep him on the roster, then it becomes a question every day. When are you going to use LeMahieu? When are you going to use LeMahieu? At least now they cut bait, and get a clean slate. I do think they're going to wind up with a guy like McMahon out of Colorado, Cabrian Hayes out of Pittsburgh. I do think they're going to, add before the trade deadline. They also talked about how they want to move Jazz Chisholm back over to second base. So I think, in essence, I hear you. It wasn't a ton of money, but they do kind of avoid having to deal with the question for the next 2 to 3 months by just making the move on LeMahieu now.
Yeah. Well, there was a third baseman, at least a wannabe third baseman anyway, that was on the market about 2-3 weeks ago, and Rafi Devers that,
I don't think the Red Sox would have ever traded him to the Yankees.
Yeah. No, but I tell you what, left-handed hitter in that ballpark.
Sure. Go ahead and tell your Red Sox brethren to have made that move. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been tough. There's no way they would have done that. Say they shipped him as far away as humanly possible. Boston to San Francisco, outside of maybe Miami to San Fran. You can't get much further away. So yeah, that would have happened. Still, would have been funny to talk about. All right, in-game live game day continues here on the grid. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. Have you said it? The home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favored, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick 'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking into be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. It's really bad. Now the past couple weeks, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that weren't household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live, game day on the grid. Scott and Dane, hour number 2. Back to the baseball board here in a second. Just some news out of the WNBA, which I always say, Dane, on the podcast. The WNBA is the only sport that I know that's more popular out of season than it is in season. I mean, in season, nobody cares about the NBA, all right? It's the NBA. Let's wait for the playoffs. Players don't care. Everyone's resting. Who cares, right? and the playoffs come around, and then it's like, oh, by the way, yeah, we got to wait 3 days in between games. Who cares? Let me get to the finals. And the finals come around, you say the same things, like, oh, I'm done with the NBA, right? Then the offseason happens, and you got all these trades and all these projected moves and who's going to team up, and everyone's all excited about the NBA again. It's the craziest thing. It really is. But that said, Phoenix Suns give Devin Booker a 2-year, $145 million extension, apparently. $72.5 million a year. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I tell you, it's only a matter of time where someone's going to make $100 million a year. It's inevitable. It really, 2 years, 3 years, maybe. I mean, it's crazy the money they give these guys because they can. It's just remarkable.
Yeah, and here's the deal. So I agree with you on a number of levels on this, Scott, right? Like, first of all, I think the NBA agrees with you, and that's why they inserted that kind of in-season tournament. Remember that? To try to spice up a part of the regular season because, no one really needs to pay attention to regular season NBA until we hit February, March at least, right? It's something of a grind, especially when the NFL is still going on. People don't really turn their attention to the NBA. That's why the league put in that kind of the season cup or whatever it was called to try to generate some excitement. And then listen, I saw that SGA signed the Supermax and he was getting $72 million a year. And listen, okay, fine. He's the MVP of the league, just coming off winning a championship. And if that's the top of the food chain, I get it. And Devin Booker, he is a good player. He is an all-star. But to your point, if now all of a sudden the market for just I don't want to undersell him. He's an all-star, but like your run-of-the-mill all-star gets $70 to $75 million. That means the next time one of these true giants of the game come up, we are going to be talking about $85, $90 million a year. Like, let me tell you, you said someone's going to be making $100 million. I'm going to tell you who it's going to be. Victor Wembanyama, as soon as his rookie deal is up. And that's still got about, 2 years left to go, right? The marketplace will be such that a guy like him, when he signs that Supermax, will potentially be $100 million a year. And I think part of this is the TV money that comes in. Everybody's got their regional TV money. The salary cap is just going to keep on going up. And I got to tell you something. One thing that LeBron did right, I don't like a lot of things that LeBron did. What he did do was he was one of the first guys to not necessarily sign his deal for the max amount of years right away. He wanted as many bites at the apple as he could get and started signing these kind of 3-year deals because he saw the trend. He saw how the kind of state of play would just continue to go up and didn't want to kind of lock himself into a 6-7 year deal. Started signing those 3-year deals. And then every time he was up, he wound up being able to get new market value, which was just continuing to go up. So I am with you. 70 some odd million for Devin Booker, who is good and all-star, only means that when the next time we see someone like a Wemby, like, one of these true, I even saw Paolo Banchero. Yeah, Giannis. I saw Paolo Banchero also get a huge deal. Good player, all-star caliber, to be sure. But if that's where the marketplace is, my, oh my.
Yeah, I mean, we complain about, not really complain, but we bring up the quarterbacks in the NFL. It's like, oh my goodness, how you're paying this guy 30, 40 million, right? And then you get a guy like Chet Holmgren. Again, a good player. He averages 15 points, 8 rebounds. I'd take him on my team, but
sure.
$50 million for Chet Holmgren. He's not even your best player. It's just bonkers.
Listen,
it's bonkers,
kudos to him. Kudos to him.
Yeah,
It's almost like, don't hate the player, hate the game, Scott. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, what you going to do? Say no to $50 million a year? It's not Chet Holmgren's fault, right? It's not Chet Holmgren's fault that someone wants to put a piece of paper in front of him to sign with that kind of money, So I don't begrudge the players at all. I just think, like, it's just a kind of, it's a concept thing of where we are in the sports world, how much money there is in the game where we can see these kind of lofty numbers. And we're going to talk to Cam, by the way, when SGA signed that contract and he's getting $72.5 million a year. I think that is more than something like the top 8 players in the NHL combined. I think Draisaitl is the highest paid player in the NHL at something like $14 million a year or something like that, right? It's literally like the top 7 guys in the NHL don't make as much as SGA and apparently now Devin Booker on an annual basis.
Amazing. Amazing, the numbers that they're just paying out. But, they wouldn't be doing it if they couldn't. So they're not idiots, not complete idiots anyway. So, all right, baseball board. Yankees 9-6, bottom 8. That's looking pretty solid. Reds 7-2, top 9. That's all but done. Red Sox have opened it up. It's now 10-2 over Colorado. So for the umpteenth time, I had to look this up while we were talking. Well, this is like the 7th out of their last 9 games or 10 games, something goofy like that the Red Sox have scored 10 runs. I mean, you talk about playing fantasy or playing player props.
Yeah.
Now they've been helped out by their schedule, but bottom line is that they've done it. So they got 10 tonight. That is 1. Hold on a second. They scored 10 last night. That's 2. 9. They've scored 29 runs in 3 games against Colorado. Oh, my goodness. Then they had 6. Amir 6. Yeah. 10 and then 11. So they've scored 10, or let's say 9. They've scored 9 runs or more in 5 of their last 6 games.
They are hot right now, so we'll see what happens. That's one team that doesn't want to see the All-Star break. One other game, Scott, to get your thoughts on. Pirates-Royals, tied at 3. We're going into the top of the 7th here. They're hanging 8.5 as the live total. These are the kind of games I think are interesting because they're tied. 8.5 is the live total. We're at 3-3, but if we get to 4-4, that's an automatic win here. And there are still a couple of innings left. You do still get the chance that the Royals may have to hit in the bottom of the 9th. I know that we talked about how these are bad offenses, but over 8.5 at this point could be interesting.
Yeah. I got the under originally 8.5, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to, now it's locked. But you're right, at 3-3, 7th inning, you have 3 solid innings left, right? Even with Kansas City figuring the bottom of the 9th. That's not a bad little play, but I'm going to lay off. We got Texas and the LA Angels just starting for the first pitch. Basically, pick them. You got Rocker pitching. Like we mentioned, he's pitched a little bit better. He has, but he's still 1-7 on the road. ERA over 7. 9.5. Strong under trend with the Rangers, but they've been scoring a little bit more lately. I don't have a good read on this game unless you just wanted to go Rocker under his out total.
No, of these games that are about to go right now, I agree with you. I'm staying away from Rangers Angels. I like the Fathers a little bit better. We're backing Dylan Cease, both in terms of his strikeouts and in the first 5 of both of these games. I got a much stronger position thinking the Padres are going to do work against Arizona.
Yeah, I would kind of stay away from the first one there, the Rangers Angels. The Rangers team, that's one of those teams I just can't figure out. I mean, I bet the over, it goes under. I bet the under, it goes over. I bet on them, they lose. Against them, they would just. And that's a mark of a 500 team, which is what they are. So I kind of got a little side bet anyway on those guys, just for the second half team total. I am kind of counting on them to turn things around and put a little winning streak together. 71-62. Now that's how we like it. A little bit better. Chicago leading Dallas to start the 4th quarter. Over-under is down to 173.5. So kind of what you were talking about. It slowed down a little bit.
That middle, we're going to be in that middle, over the 166.5 where it closed, and under what I think we saw at the apex, which was 177.5. That would have been an 11-point middle. I think it is going to fall within those numbers.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as much as I like Chicago, grabbing Dallas 8.5, every time they pushed it out to like 7, 8, 9, Dallas has kind of made a little run. So I don't know if Chicago ends up winning this game by 9 points. I would take, if you want a little action also, I would take Dallas plus the 8.5. Dan Stewart comes up next. Golf picks from Cam in a bit. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. You said it. The home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favorite, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, Then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking into be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. It's really bad. Now the past couple weeks, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day on the Grid. Scott Dane, hour number 2. We got the full slate of baseball. We got some golf to get to, maybe a little Wimbledon as well, as we welcome in our good buddy Cam Stewart, who takes over along with Gabe Morency at the top of the hour. Full slate of action, including the Scottish Open. Just looking at some of your picks there, Cam, I see you and Dubsy, who we had on about a half hour ago, kind of coinciding with the little Colin Morikawa. Everyone seems to be on Morikawa this week.
Interesting. I thought I would be like one of the different guys because he hasn't been playing that well, but he hired Foster, one of the best Open caddies. And the thing about Colin Morikawa is, people think it's attitude or whatever. He's just a very different player and more of a field player. But when you're going over to Scotland and you're playing in the Open Championship and the Scottish Open, you need a caddy that's going to tell you, hey, be firm, do this, do that. And Colin Morikawa hasn't really had one of those guys. But when you're an Open champion before and a caddy of guys who have won multiple times, you're going to listen. So Foster's a guy that I really, really like. And Morikawa, I like at 28-1, guys. I think he's a real good pick this week. If he doesn't win this week, I'm going to definitely take him at the British Open. But I think the Scottish Open, what do you need to do? Be creative. Use different clubs. That's the whole thing about this golf. And I love it, guys, because you can use all sorts of different irons. You could use the Texas wedge, the putter instead of the wedge. It's not like American golf. You be more creative. And Colin Morikawa is a real smart kid. Sometimes he overthinks things. So I think this will be good for him. Matthew Fitzpatrick, another great links player from England at 40-1 is making my card to win. Ryan Crazy Like a Fox. I can't wait to text Carver when he's in church with the kids and go, we did it again, Carver. More money in the collection plate from the Carvers to the local churches. Ryan Fox can win. Won the Canadian Open. He's won twice this year at 65-1. That's a great price. And Dane, I got two Danes for you. Two Danishes. It's Dane Martinez and two Danes. I got, what are the odds? Rasmus Højgaard, one of the better players on the European Tour, and now playing on the PGA Tour at 70, and another Rasmus. But this is Neergaard Peterson. Remember, guys, don't get into the wine before you make your bets with the Danish players because they all have the same name and there's hyphenated and a lot of different things. So Rasmus Højgaard, he has a brother, so R. Højgaard and Neergaard Peterson, and his first name is Rasmus at 100-1. That's what I like. I don't know if Dubsy has those guys, but he's got Colin Morikawa, and that's good enough for me. First round leaders and top 10s. Let's do this thing right now. Tommy Fleetwood. It's a very important week. He finished second last week. He's got to do well. Tommy, you ever going to win? He's won in Europe. He's not won in America. That's the thing. But at 30-1, I love him to come out of the gate hot. Morikawa, I'm going to ride this horse from start to finish at 32. The American, Sam Burns, a quietly good links player at 50-1. I expect a hot start from him. Ryan Ginger out of England. Fairways is what we need here. He's straight, 60-1. Justin Rose, old man Rose. He loves to come out, a Thursday warrior. And Laurie Cantor, people are like, who? He's one of the best European players, and you're getting a mixed bag this week. Tommy Fleetwood, Dane, can't take him to win, but for a top 10 at plus 190, I will sign him up for that. Robert McIntyre, the defending champion from Scotland, playing in his hometown championship, plus 225. He also won the Canadian Open before, so he does well in these global events. Victor Hovland, will he get it done? I like him for a top 20, plus 140. Mr. Burns, for a top 20, plus 150. Good plus numbers here. The veteran, Adam Scott, a top 10 machine in these type of tournaments. I'll take him top 20 at plus 180. And the little American from Georgia, Brian Harmon, loves links golf. He's won an Open Championship before, and plus 260 for a top 20. Sign me up, fellas. Great job, guys, and Font to get all those in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so Cam, this Dane you're never going to see with that little slash zero or the dots above a letter
Triple Dane.
like you will with some of those other Danes. But let me ask you something, Cam, because I've always wondered about this. You pick guys to win, then maybe a top 5, top 10, top 20. Mm-hmm. What is it about a guy who you don't want to pick to win the tournament, but you do think can finish in the top 10, right? And why do you draw those lines? Like Burns, for example, top 20, but not the extra multiply. He was what, plus 140 to be a top 20? He would have been probably 3-1 to be a top 10. How do you, I want to get into the mind of the raging redhead. How do you actually, draw those cut-off lines for some of the top 5, 10, 20 finishes?
It's a great question, Dane. And I usually do sprinkle on all my guys to win, but my outrights I'll put more of a unit on. And I will say this, guys. Under 30-1, you don't want to itch each way, guys, because you're not getting enough of the pie. But once you're starting to take guys in the 40 and over range, especially like the 60s and above, Dane, you can break that bet into each way. And for majors, they have top 8 instead of top 5 or 6. The usual books, let's just say for a regular tournament, like the Travelers Championship, you could saw guys at 80-1, and you also get them for a top 6 bet. So if they finish, you still get a nice chunk of the pie. But now you get top 8. And that's what you do. It splits the bet up for 1 to win and a percentage for the top 8. So I only think it makes mathematical sense when you do it at guys usually around 40-1 and above. So that's when I start to do things like that. But I do sprinkle on all my guys. But there's certain guys like Tommy Fleetwood, for example. A lot of people love him to win this week. I just prefer the top 10 because if he I really believe he'll finish like 2nd to 6th. But I'll get that top 10 price and I'll put a little bit on him to win. But the guys that I have outright, bigger units on them to win because I actually think they can close the door. Known finishers instead of guys who kind of, get there. There's certain golfers, Dane, I call it the Matt Kuchar effect. When I used to follow Matt Kuchar, and when he come to Canadian Open, he had a golf bag with like $100,000 loose in it. I'm snuck up behind him for an interview. He's like, no, I'm not going to rob you, Mr. Kuchar. But he makes so much money, like $18,000, $50,000 every week.
All that money, he still can't tip his caddy, Cam. He still won't tip his caddy.
That's what I'm saying. There's certain guys, that's the one thing about golf. T7, T8, T13, third. You know what I mean? They're there every week, but I'm like, where are the wins in correlation to your top 10s and 20s? Some guys are just ATM machines, and other guys like Scotty Scheffler say, I own 150 ATM machines, had a plot of land here, and soon I'm going to own everywhere in the world if I keep on winning. But there's certain guys that know how to really close the door, and those are the guys you want. Guys who have won before. Finau, another great example, Dane, of an ATM machine. Yeah. He should have won more in his career. Great player. He has won, but you expect at least 3 or 4 wins out of him. But he's always there. Page 2 of the leaderboard. A solid $50,000 check. You know what I mean? He goes out there. He's got a lot of kids to feed. And trust me, they're eating quite well because Tony's a top 10 machine. So that's what you do with the bets. Matchups are great. Let's give a shout out to Brady Cannon, one of the best too, at SportsGrid. He'll be on at the top of the hour with me and Gabe to give picks. He had Kevin, don't call me Patrick Roy, last week at like 150 to 1. He almost won the damn tournament. Brady is one of the best golf cappers. So guys, if you like great golf picks, tune in. Gabe, me, Brady will break down the Scottish Open, and he might even have some British Open picks for you too. That's on after the Scottish Open. So we'll have a lot of fun, guys.
All right. There you go. And you actually got a PGA Tour event this weekend as well.
Yeah, I don't want to give you those. I like Cameron Champ at 28 to 1, Scott. Cam Champ.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. Have you said it? The home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favorite, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking into be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, like, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, like, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going like, ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that weren't household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to In-Game Live, Game Day on the Grid. Thanks again for Cam Stewart joining us. Cam and Gabe at the top of the hour after Dane and I finish up hour number 2 here in 5 minutes or so. A couple of baseball finals rolling in. I want to throw those at you just in case you missed them before we get back to the live board. Reds did beat the Marlins 7-2, so they salvaged one game in that 3-game series as we figured they would. Red Sox do sweep the Rockies as we figured they would 10-2. They've scored 9 runs now in 5 of their last 6 games in the Rockies' dismal season. 21-72 continues. Yanks beat the Mariners 9-6, so no more runs in that one, but we did hit that over 13.5, so that was nice. And then earlier today, Tampa Bay salvaged one game at Detroit, winning 7-3. Philadelphia blitzed the Giants, salvaging one game 13-0. I told you, it's hard to get the sweeps. It really is. White Sox get one game out of Toronto, winning 2-1. Although the Brewers, out of all the teams, if I told you the one team that actually got swept outside of Colorado, I don't know if many people would have said the Dodgers, but they were the one team that actually got swept outside of Colorado today. So Dodgers lose 3-2 in 10 innings, walk-off winner for Milwaukee, Dane. Guards attack on another run. In fact, another 2 runs. Talking about getting swept. Dodgers and Astros are the 2 best teams, maybe in baseball, in each division anyway, each league. And they may end up getting swept, including Houston.
Yeah, Cleveland
at
was
home.
playing horrible coming into this, right? Hadn't they lost like 10 or 11 in a row? So, then 10. I was trying to fade Ciccone as well, and he looked really good shutting out Houston. The one I'm looking at right now, with still a little bit left to go, is we are 3-3, Pirates and Royals. We're now in the top of the 8th. Keep an eye out on that total, Scott. It's at 8.5 right now, but heavily juiced to the under 8.5. I wonder if they're going to drop it down to 7.5 with a couple more outs. Remember, you get 3-3, you could easily wind up getting 4-4 here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think I've seen them do it a little bit more recently. Like I said, years past, no, because they knew. But this year I've seen, especially in Pittsburgh and Kansas City games, just because these teams are so bad offensively. So I wouldn't be surprised. Generally we say kind of hop on this before they take it off the board. But they've been posting, 1.5 over whatever the total happens to be in the 8th inning. Maybe not the 9th, but bottom 8. If no one scores, I bet you see 7.5. So it's kind of the gamble inside the gamble. Don't put it in now and just gamble. They do give you that 7.5. Because like I said, I have seen that. In fact, it happened in this series yesterday, as a matter of fact. It was 3-3. Same thing. It's almost identical. And in Kansas City only scored 1 to win 4-3. So it did go under. But I remember talking with Ranieri about that yesterday. So it definitely can happen.
I think it's one of the things like, if you look at it in the long term to see how the books behave, right? To kind of see if there's any edge there. The other thing I'll tell you, Dylan Cease with 1 strikeout in the first inning. We are scoreless in San Diego, Snakes and Fathers.
All right. We'll take that, right? One for one. Not too bad.
Stay on pace. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Texas 1-0 over the Angels, top of the second inning there as well. So they're also underway. And then, we talked about it. We'll throw it out there one more time. A's at Oakland, or A's in Athletics, right? We got to go Athletics in this one?
Yeah. Going Athletics, I like the over in that one as well. I think there will be runs. We're attacking both of those pitchers, both over 4 ERA, over 1.3 whip. And the last thing I'll say is we are now 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Chicago Sky, Scotty, have a 9-point lead on the Dallas Wings. Nice. They're now laying 8.5, which is far bigger than the one number. And that live total, what do you know? Because the margin has grown, the live total has gone back up to that apex of 177.5. So if you were trying to hunt for that middle, you may have to sweat it out. I think you want Dallas to kind of close the gap so it becomes a little bit more laborious towards the end of the game. But Sky up by 9 with 5 minutes left to go in that one.
It's amazing how one team can although the Sky's been playing a little better, but they do have Dallas's number for some goofy reason. In the process of making it 9-1 their last 10. Very weird. It really just and Paige Beckers did play tonight. So just happen to have their number. So hopefully that continues, and hopefully we get that over bet in there as well. So Cubbies didn't score in the top of the 8th. They were threatening, but they head to the top of the 9th now, down 4-2. Still, there you go, 7.5.
It went to 7.5 in Kansas City. So that's important to note, right? Only 1 or 2 outs in to the top of the 8th. So that's where you got to kind of monitor. When do they make that change? And they do it in the middle of the top of the 8th, at least in this example.
Yeah. And you don't want to still put it in too early because you don't want to have Pittsburgh score a run. You want to, the idea is you get it to extra innings. So you get it as close as possible to end of 9. So I would wait on that. Dane, great job as always. You'll be back tomorrow right here in Game Live. Cam and Gabe coming up next. Don't go anywhere.